Good evening, baseball fans. It is January 4th. It is a Thursday. Happy New Year. I don't know when the moratorium is on wishing someone a Happy New Year is because it's like the 4th. Is it too long? Is that weird? We're already off on a tangent. It's delightful. Anyways, I'm Suzy. This is Bourbon and Baseball, and we have a very special episode for you guys today. It is Shawn Spradling. If you guys are not familiar with Shawn's work, you should be. If you've watched any sort of world baseball coverage, you should know Shawn. I lovingly refer to him as the WBC guy. Literally almost a year ago, Shawn. Like, I looked back on that episode that we did, and it was like December of 22, and I was all,
wow, almost
yeah,
to the date. Yeah.
like it's a whole new world, Shawn, a whole new world.
Yes.
lots has happened since, like the last time we chatted. So I know you guys did a lot of, I say you guys like you have a mouse in your pocket. I know you did a lot of WBC coverage. I know you also went to Baseball United and did that whole fun thing. So let's start from the top. Let's start from the WBC stuff. If
Yeah.
you're okay with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always okay with WBC talk.
You're like, I don't really want to talk about the WBC. Let's talk about the White Sox instead. No. So you just released your top 12 favorite like moments of the WBC.
Mm-hmm.
So I was gonna ask you like what was your favorite moment, but you gave us your top 12. So if you guys did not check that out on Twitter, you guys definitely should. But for those that are not on Twitter, Shawn, why don't you kind of recap that maybe in your own words and like, set the stage of like where you were sitting or standing or leaning. I don't know. Like give us kind of like the breakdown, the behind the scenes of the stuff that we didn't see.
Yeah, totally. No, 2023 is like honestly covering baseball. Like I always knew I wanted to work in baseball, and like I'm still hoping to make this more of a permanent thing. But if I were to stop right now and like 2023 was it, I would be happy because it was a dream. Like from the WBC to going to Dubai with Baseball United, like it was like I've already experienced so much more than I ever could have hoped and dreamed to through the baseball world. I've met so many people, and like you said, the WBC was such a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And really how like it all started for me. So and you're right, I did post like the top 12 moments for like of mine of the WBC, and that's actually my pinned tweet right now on my profile. So I don't know how long it's going to be up there because it was like technically like the 12 Days of Christmas WBC version. So it's pretty far past Christmas now. I might take that down pretty soon. But
listen, the moratorium on Happy New Year hasn't happened yet, so definitely the 12 favorite days of Christmas WBC moments, like we'll allow it. Yeah,
okay,
we'll allow it.
Cool. Well, then for anyone listening that wants to see those, I made like I edited together like a little video of every of one of the top 12 of my favorite moments of the WBC. I also have them on Instagram too. So yeah, go watch those. But it was, I mean, just the entire tournament was, magical, honestly. Like from the new countries that have never played in the WBC to like historic moments, obviously the last at bat. I mean, with Shohei Ohtani versus Mike Trout, players like Randy Arozarena taking the spotlight for the entire world. Everybody fell in love with him for a couple of weeks. There was storyline after storyline after storyline, and I had the privilege, like the massive opportunity to be able to go in person to Pool C for the pool games, which was the US, Mexico, Canada, Colombia, Great Britain in Phoenix. So I was there for the pool games, which was a blast. Like I got to see USA versus Mexico, where honestly there were more Mexican fans than American fans, even though it was in Phoenix. It was wild. Like it was just super, super loud. Saw Great Britain play in their first ever WBC, and I mean it was so much fun. I had like the opportunity to get media credentials through my podcast thanks to Rob and Baseball Isn't Boring. I got to be on the field, like meet all these players. Like honestly, we're a year past it and I'm still trying to process like all that I had the opportunity to do. I'm going to be living off of that dream for, for years from now.
Right. So I'm not gonna lie, like when you posted that thread, I was like, oh, you know what? I'll go back and like I'll watch these because I didn't have time like right at that second. Yeah. And then as I was like, I say getting prepared, like I prepared a bunch of questions. I did not. But going back and like looking through that thread, I got goosebumps again. And the WBC was so much fun for me just as a baseball fan, because this was my first WBC. Like I wasn't a baseball fan the last time it came around. And so all of this, the excitement, the energy, it all came rushing back to me. And I'm all, oh my gosh, like Shawn was there, like live. Were you just over the moon like the entire time? Did you have like goosebumps? Like tell me.
Oh yeah.
Tell me all about it, Shawn. Like,
oh yeah, no, I like in 2017, that was the first WBC I watched. I didn't really watch the 2013 at all. I was in high school and I honestly didn't even really know what was going on.
Right.
So 2017, I watched a couple games and like the highlights, obviously, like watched the championship, watched USA win. And so I loved it, but didn't get to watch like nearly as much as I wanted to. And I'm like, I was still growing in my baseball fandom. I was pretty young. And so like I was in college, so I had other things to do. Like I would go to class and like whatever. But now with this WBC, I was like, okay, this is the one. I'm going to watch every single game, which I still didn't get to watch every game. But I tried to as much as I could. But before this last year I would not have dreamed that I was actually going to be able to go to the WBC. Cause I mean, I'm on my first job. Like, I'm young. I don't have that much money. Like I wasn't planning on like flying and going to watch these games, but got to go to the pool games in Phoenix and then for the semifinals and the final in Miami. I was on the field. I got to interview players, and like I said, I'm still like over the moon and like processing everything that happened. Like I got to talk to Mookie Betts, Ken Griffey Jr., like these guys that I've been watching play my entire life or like idolizing all growing up.
Right.
Even like saw like something I didn't really post about. Saw Larry Walker on the field. He was one of the coaches for Canada. No one really talked about Larry Walker being there, like another Hall of Famer.
So like, yeah, just nonchalantly, just gonna be over here talking to Larry Walker, you know.
Yeah, and I think I'd love to hear from you, but I think it's just like experiencing the atmosphere in person, but also from home, just like seeing the players play for their countries and how much energy, excitement there was. All the fans, like the crowds were packed. It just felt so different from like the everyday like baseball game MLB season that we get to see every year, which like MLB is the best league in the world. Like it's special that we get to have that in our country to watch every year. But with this being every 3 to 4 years, it's just different and special in a way that like we don't really see this anywhere else in baseball.
Yeah, like I said, I wasn't a baseball fan back in 2017, so this was totally new. And my allegiance was split when Korea was actually playing, and in it, I'm all, oh crap, like I'm on, well, I got like it obviously like Korea, but like yay, you know, and so I was, just I think I did wake up early to watch one of those Korea games when it was like super early. I think it was 5 a.m., 6 a.m. maybe. And my husband was like,
those games in Pool B, those were like 3 a.m. Honestly, like 3, 4 a.m. It was rough.
Yeah, my husband's like, what are you doing? And I'm all, watching baseball. He's like, are you kidding me right now? He's like, it's not even like MLB. I'm like, I know, it's Korea. And he wasn't about it. He was like, no, that's not what we're gonna do here. And I was like, no, we are. That's what we're definitely gonna do. So but I was so excited to start talking about all of the WBC stuff, Shawn, that I didn't even give the normal warning that I usually give to the people that this is a rated R podcast, that there will be lots of cuss words just because that's who I am as a person. And
it's a good warning.
Yes. Yeah. So typically I give the warning much earlier, but thankfully I did not let out any F-bombs yet. So it is rated R for the all of the 4-letter words that will inevitably rain down. And some of the inappropriate adult humor, just because I am a 12-year-old boy when it comes to my humor. So there's the warning, guys. So if there's any like tiny ears listening later on, or if the tiny ears are listening now, maybe don't do that. That's probably not the best idea. So I know you said that you got to do a lot of different interviews, Shawn. Who was one of your favorites? Because I know you got to do like Bobby Witt Jr. and like Roki Sasaki. Like,
yeah.
So did you get to just like talk to Mookie Betts, or did you actually interview Mookie Betts? Like,
I interviewed him. He's one of the best players in the world, one of the most famous. So a very coveted interviewer for those who are on the field trying to talk to players. So I probably got a minute with him. It was literally like, hey, would you mind? Like, I just want to ask you a couple questions. It'll be super quick, like a minute or so. He's like, yeah, for sure. And then right after I talked with him, another person like ran up to him, another person after that. So it's pretty overwhelming for players. I kind of feel for them sometimes, but in that like setting where like it's just such a different atmosphere than like the regular monotonous middle of the MLB season, I think the players were really willing to give interviews, which I was so grateful for. So yeah, I got to talk to Mookie. I think the one that I was most starstruck was definitely Griffey. Talking to Ken Griffey Jr. He maybe gave me like 30 seconds because he was even more like busy. People were like, there was a whole line to talk to him, but I kind of just blacked out the whole 30 seconds. I don't even know what I asked. I don't even know what I told him. I asked him like 2 or 3 questions and that was it. Then I was like, thank you so much. I got a picture with him, which was crazy. Like sent that to my parents and my parents freaked out about that. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that was probably the one I was most starstruck with. Mookie was really, really cool. Bobby Witt Jr. was such a cool guy. I think of the guys on Team USA, he was the one I got to talk to most and just felt like so genuine. Like he was so genuinely interested in the interview and in me just like talking. He's like the guy I felt like of all the players there that I felt like I could be like such good friends with. Like if we just like went to go hang out, like went to go throw, like it'd be so natural. And I'm living in Dallas. He's from Dallas, so maybe someday we'll meet up.
You're like, Bobby, if ever you need a throwing partner, like I'm right here. I just saying, like,
Nah, but he was super cool. So got to talk to him before the USA Mexico game, and then actually after the championship as well. And it was I'm so happy that he got the chance to be on the team because I mean that whole roster was star-studded. It was stacked top to bottom. He didn't get too many at-bats through the tournament, but a lot of those guys are going to be retiring soon, like in the next, well, I say soon, but as in the next WBC or 2, so like 6 years. Right. And he's the next guy up to start at shortstop, in my opinion, at least. So he got some like really valuable experience with those veteran names in the dugout. And in my interview with him after the championship, he talked all about how like his favorite part of the WBC was just getting to see them in the everyday, like getting to see how they went about their business, what they were like on the field, what they were like off the field, seeing like how Mike Trout prepared for games, seeing how Mookie would like get in the zone. So it was really cool. And I think that experience for him is invaluable for his career.
That is awesome. Like I'm just so thrilled for you because I remember the first time that I had you on, like all of this was like barely starting and you hadn't really gone viral yet. Like you were getting there, but then all of the WBC stuff like really started. And then all of a sudden, I think I checked your profile at one point and you had like 5,000 people. I was like, look at Shawn, that's awesome. And then it was like 10,000 overnight. I'm all, oh shit, like, all right, Shawn, look at you go. Like I was so proud. And so, you're still pumping out like a ton of WBC content, like literally still, giving us updates on like the Dominican League. And you just put out one and it's in Spanish and I don't remember which one it was. Help me out, Shawn.
In Spanish. Mm-hmm. Was it like a highlight? Was it a news?
No, I think it was news. I think it was something in a reference to maybe like their first time being able to be in the WBC, maybe.
Spanish. Now I'm gonna have to scroll back, see what that was about.
I would attempt to like pronounce it, but I just know that I would just absolutely butcher it and then embarrass myself more fully than I normally do. No, I want to say it was one of the new leagues or something like that. Now I have to go back and like.
Are you referring? Because I did just post about this a couple days ago. The Cuban national team that's going to be playing in the Intercontinental tournament in January, or is that not it?
Let me hold on. I'm scrolling back now and seeing what I was looking at. I'm gonna be real embarrassed if it was just that.
No, you're good. Like you said, I pump out as much content as I can, so I wouldn't. Oh, are you talking about Jonathan Aranda with his interview? Like the first interview ever did in English?
No.
Do you speak Spanish? No, not that one.
But also very cool.
Yeah, I'm like scrolling through my Twitter now. I'm like, what was it?
I don't. Well, now that I'm scrolling, let's see here. See, this is the super professional content that all of you guys pay for. So
this is what we tune in for.
You know that. Oh, that's good, Suzy. And I scrolled over, and now it just closed out. I love that for me. So I know. Okay, so while I try and find this, let's fast forward just a little bit to Baseball United and going to Dubai.
Yeah.
Now, I think I said Abu Dhabi earlier to somebody, and then realized I was like, that's not it. Dubai. So
they're both Emirates. They're in the same country.
I'm like, so I wasn't too far off, but tell me about how that went and like that whole experience, because
oh my gosh,
I feel like that and the golden ball, like that had to have been a whole other cool experience, but so much different than WBC stuff. Am I way off base or?
No, like that's, I mean, you're right on with that. It's honestly so crazy that both happened in the same year, because they are such different experiences that I had. The WBC for me was like what I planned for. It was what like all of my content leading up to the WBC was for. Like everything that I made was for the WBC.
Right.
And like is what I dreamed about going to, meeting those players, or even just like seeing the teams that were going to do well, the new countries. All that, wrapped all that up after March. It was done, and then it was just like the normal baseball season, and I was honestly kind of sad for like a month. I was like, what do I do with myself? There's no more WBC for 3 years.
Right. You're like, where do I go from here?
Yeah. So but then like the season went on. Obviously, like there's international baseball news year round, so they had no shortage of that. But about halfway through, probably about this, like halfway through the summer, Baseball United reached out to me, and they were like, hey, we love like your international baseball coverage. We love what you do. We love the way that you cover the game. Would you be at all interested in helping cover our league in the same way? And I mean, I was all over it. I was like, super stoked. It was like, please. Baseball in Dubai, I will absolutely be there. So it took a while for things to start forming. As any like startup, there were some delays, like because the league is brand new, and it's run by Cash Sheikh, the CEO and founder of Baseball United. He's from Houston, actually. Which is I saw so that fun.
Not to the Astros, and I was like, oh, all right, look at you.
Yeah, he's from Houston. I believe he lives in Cincinnati now, but still he's a diehard Astros fan, which is a ton of fun. But I got to talk with him and some of the other personnel with Baseball United once they were able to iron everything out with like the government, and they got a deal with the Cricket Federation in the UAE for I believe 15 years to have this league at minimum. So like they're going to have the league for 15 years. So it's like going to be a very established league. And
so now
have plenty of time to grow.
For those that aren't familiar with Baseball United and what that is, or what or what that is going to be. So basically, the Baseball United is basically like the MLB for
the Middle East. And so Baseball United is a new baseball league. Like it's a league just like any other league in the world. It's going to be held in the winter. So it's going to be more aligned with like the winter leagues. So like you have Dominican Winter League, Venezuelan, Puerto Rican Winter Leagues. It's going to be held about the same time, November to January, February timeframe.
Okay.
And it's the first professional baseball league that is covering both regions from South Asia to the Middle East. So what that looks like is that area kind of right in between the two. You have the UAE, you have Pakistan, India, Saudi Arabia is right there, Qatar is right there. So those countries are the ones that are in the future going to have teams, like franchises. Right now there's 4. There's Mumbai has one, Karachi, and Abu Dhabi and Dubai. So India, Pakistan, and 2 in the UAE. So those are the 4 teams. By next year, I guess it's this year now. We're in 2024. By this winter, there's supposed to be 4 more franchises. So it'll be 8 total to start the first season. And then it will just act like a normal like baseball league, professional baseball league, where you'll have veterans that have played in MLB. You'll have prospects from the US, but also from that region. You'll have prospects from India, from Pakistan, and the UAE, which is super cool. And then it's one of the most diverse leagues I've ever seen. Like there were over, I think, 25, 30 countries that were represented just at the showcase that I went to.
That's awesome.
Which is, me, like that's right up my alley. Like I love the international aspect of baseball. So getting to meet the guys from all of the different countries was awesome. But yeah, that's what Baseball United is. It's a baseball league. This last winter, what I went to was their inaugural showcase. So it was only 2 games. They didn't have a season. It was 2-game showcase, like an all-star event. And so you had like 2 teams of all-star players, basically the best players that were drafted by the Baseball United teams. And they played against each other in a 2-game showcase in Dubai in like a cricket stadium that they converted into a baseball stadium. So it was the coolest thing ever.
That is awesome. So will there be minor league teams as well, like, or just the main?
I don't think they're going to have like farm systems necessarily. If so, it'll probably be a while until that happens. Right now, their like biggest priority is just like filling out the league, like filling out you only have 4 teams right now, so they need more than 4. Filling out those teams with players, getting owners to buy those franchises. So it's like I said, it's literally like a startup like company where they're just starting from the ground up, trying to figure out how to get everything to fall into place. The showcase was a huge success, and like if you follow Cash or like any of the other Baseball United personnel on social media, like they're all already starting to ramp up and gear up for the like next season, which is in November. So which will be their first season ever. So like there's a lot of stuff that will need to happen before then, but I have like the confidence that they're going to be able to get it all done before then. But with farm systems like minor leagues, I don't think that's necessarily in the future. At least not that I know of.
Right. So he was just like, you know what? I love baseball. I also want, like everybody to love baseball. Let me bring baseball to the UAE. Is that essentially like what happened, or what? How? Why? Like, what was the point?
So
not point, but like
the purpose behind it, I think for him was, and this is, I'm trying to like paraphrase what I've heard him say over and over again, because he goes on a ton of podcasts also, and by him I mean Cash, and he's the brain behind all of this. Him and John Miedrich, they're co-founders. I mean, what he said is that the Southeast and the Southwest Asia and the Middle East together, that region is like the largest region in the world that has never had professional baseball. Like there was, for 1 year, I believe in 2007 or 2008, there was one professional league in Israel. It lasted a year and then it closed down after that. But other than that, nothing in the Middle East and never in South Asia has there ever been a professional baseball league. And so he saw that market, knows how big of a potential that India and Pakistan are, and the UAE and Qatar and how much sports are growing in that area.
Right.
And something that he likes to say is that region is the bat and ball epicenter of the world, because they have, I think, 2 billion cricket fans, 2 billion people there in that region. 1 billion are cricket fans. And like bat and ball sport, like if you can try to tap into that potential of those kind of athletes and get some of them to try out baseball, like you're going to have some success. Like it's hard to hit a ball with a stick. And so having players that already know sort of how to do that, like, I mean, I can imagine that you're going to have some great success getting some good baseball players. So I think that what he wanted was to create a baseball league in that region. He's also of both Pakistani and Indian descent, so it made sense for him. Had a lot of like a ton of support from former MLB players that are on the ownership group, and like former MLB personnel that are all for this. So he was like, why not? Let's try it. No one's ever done this before. Let's see what happens. He's an entrepreneur to the core. Like, he loves social media, so he loves sharing it all across the social media platforms. And so it was a huge success, and I'm glad that he tried it.
That's awesome. I really want him to keep the gold ball rule.
Yeah, that was fun, right?
Absolutely adored that, and I was like, done. Yes, absolutely, gold ball for sure. And one of the group chats that I'm in has a couple of like super, I don't want to say old school, but they're a little bit more curmudgeon-y than normal folks. And they were like, no, absolutely not. That is this banana ball, like referring to the Savannah Bananas. I'm like, okay, look, you want them to have fun, right? It's fun. Like sports in and of itself is supposed to be an entertainment thing. Are you not entertained? Like, come on now. So yes, keep the gold ball. That's all I'm saying. Just definitely keep the gold ball.
Yeah, and like fans that may not like those new experimental rules in baseball, the good thing for them is they're not going to see that in MLB, so they don't have to worry about that. But like rules like this that are experimental, that are fun, that are new, like how else are we going to know whether or not they work or are fun unless we try it? And in leagues like this, especially in such a new league, like this is the place to try those. Like I am all for like the golden ball, the like cabanas on the field, like seating on the field. I don't know if you saw that, but like they're literally like, there was bottle service to these little cabanas on the grass on the field. So it's like stuff like that you never see in MLB. I am all for trying that in this new league.
That's so where were these cabanas on the field? Like, were they in outfield, like infield, like the on deck circle? Like, what are we talking about here?
So it was in the foul ground, and it's kind of hard to explain without showing you a picture, but I'll try my best for at least those that are watching the video. So like I said, it was in a cricket stadium, and a cricket stadium is perfectly circle. A baseball stadium is not. It's more of a diamond. Right. And so like the way that the foul ground was like, if the foul line is here, there's like all this grass of like extra space that if you didn't have anything there, or you didn't cut it off with a fence, like first baseman and third baseman would be running for days to go try to get those foul balls. So what they did is they put these little cabanas, these seats with like a little table in between, and then just like a net in front, all along on the grass, but all along the foul lines, so that it would basically match the amount of foul ground that you have from a normal baseball field. And it was a huge success. Like people loved it. People loved being on the field. There was even a couple of times that like a foul ball would kind of go next, like a foul grounder would go next to the cabana, and a kid would kind of like run out and grab it. It was so funny to see. But it was a huge hit. Like you saw like servers running on the and off the field to like give like food and drinks to the fans. It was so fun. Service. Yeah, it was a ton of fun.
That's awesome. I totally missed that. That would be awesome.
I'll send you the tweet. I tweeted out a video of them while I was there. I'll send you the tweet so you can see what it looked like.
Perfect. If I was a professional, I would totally then, like edit that into the video, but I'm not. So you're just that this is the professional stuff that you guys pay me for, obviously.
Absolutely.
So side note, I now see that it was the Nicaraguan League is what I was referring to.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was like that. Apparently that was back on the 20th of December. I was like, oh, all right then.
That was kind of a while ago. And with how much content I try to pump out, I totally forgot that was recent. But yeah, Nicaragua has their first ever professional league, which is a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
And like, I can't help, I haven't really talked to any personnel in like any of the media members that I know from Nicaragua, but I can't help but imagine that a big part of that is because of their success in the WBC. Like, this was their first ever WBC appearance also. And so like baseball is going to grow like crazy because of that. And their fans are awesome. Like, there were so many Nicaraguan fans in Miami to watch their national team. So I'm really hoping that they get a chance to qualify for the next one as well.
Oh my gosh. I can't wait. Tell me what that atmosphere was like in Miami for those kind of like final-ish games. Cause I know that, I listened to, a podcast, and we had some of the guys on, the hosts on of the Just Baseball, show. And, we had Aram on last year, and I know that he and
Aram's
Peter
great.
And
He's such a cool dude.
Aram's so cool. If I didn't feel like their mom, I was like, you guys could be like cool guys to hang out with, but I'm like your mom, so I don't think that's cool. I don't think I can do that. But I remember him saying that like the atmosphere was just so over the top electric, and like not any sort of playoff game ever. And I was like, oh my gosh, like how much more exciting was it than like a playoff game?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you remember Merrill Kelly in the World Series when he was like, about to go pitch the night before they asked him, and he was like, yeah, like, I've heard it's really loud in Citizens Bank. I guess this wasn't the World Series, but like, he was like, I've heard it's really loud in Citizens Bank Park, but I would be surprised if it was anything like the USA Venezuela game. And the Phillies fans gave him so much crap for that.
Right.
This was, I guess, in the NLCS, but I mean, it's true. Like, it was some of the loudest. It was probably the loudest atmosphere I've ever heard. I wasn't at that game, but I was at the ones after that with like Mexico versus Japan, USA versus Japan. I went to Mexico versus USA in Phoenix. It was ear piercing. Like, it was wild how loud it got. And like, I mean, especially in Miami was just different because they picked the perfect pool to have in Miami.
Oh yeah,
the
for sure.
Pool D was the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, Nicaragua, Israel, and Venezuela. And if you look at each one of those populations in Miami, it's some of the biggest diasporas of all of those communities in the country, all in Miami. So every single game was packed. Whether it was Israel with like the Jewish population in Miami, or all the Dominican, Puerto Rican fans, Venezuela, obviously like such a big Venezuelan population there. So it didn't even matter who was playing. The stadium was electric. So it was a ton of fun, and by far the loudest, craziest atmosphere I've ever been to.
How much sleep did you actually get?
You know what? That's funny that you asked that. Not many people have asked me that question. And I mean, I didn't hardly get any sleep. Like all of March, honestly, because like earlier when you asked, or when you mentioned that like you woke up at like 4 o'clock to watch a couple of those games for Korea, I tried to do that every single morning. Like I was straight up every single game in Japan I was trying to watch, because it was like, I don't want to miss Shohei playing in Japan for the first time in like 6 years.
Right.
Or like Australia, I'm so sorry, but Australia beating Korea, that was like an all-time game. We don't have to talk about that. It's okay.
I was very sad.
I know. I'm sure, especially after having to wake up so early to watch it.
Yeah, but that's okay. It's all right.
Or
It's
like
all right.
Czech Republic getting their first ever win in WBC history. Like for the fans that didn't get to watch, like wake up that early, they didn't get to see those. Or like you have Pool A, which was considered like the pool of chaos because it ended with everybody going 2-2, and yet it was Italy and now I'm blanking. Italy and Cuba were the two that advanced, and Taiwan got eliminated, even though everyone went 2-2 because they were all. Yeah.
Was that the one? That was the one that had that. It went down. It went to.
It went to like 4 or 5 tiebreakers. It was crazy.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah.
There was some like crazy, like if this and this and this happened, then we have to go by. And I was like, oh my gosh, like was it like runs or something?
Yeah,
like what the final score was
divided by something. Like it was like some crazy tiebreaker that I actually don't even remember what it was. Probably because I was totally sleep deprived. But I tried to watch as many of those games as I could. And so because of that, I didn't get any sleep. And then like that was just for the pool games. I came back home actually for a week in between. I came back before the end of the pool stage, and then was home for the quarterfinals, and then went to Miami for the semifinals. So I literally had to work in between that week. Then
damn personal responsibilities. You're
I
like,
know.
Come on, people, come on.
Those day jobs kill me.
I know.
But then I went for the semis in the final, and there was no way I was going to sleep in Miami. Like I going to every single game, waking up as early as I can to go to the stadium as early as they'll let us in, staying as all the way until the last players are leaving the stadium, trying to get all the interviews and talk to players and media. Then I got to stay with a friend that offered his home graciously for me to stay at. And we got to his house and even hung out there for a little bit. And then I would pass out, wouldn't wake. And then we woke up super early in the morning. So I didn't get like any sleep all of March. I basically just slept all of April. I did not wake up for a month.
You're like, hold on, I have to recharge now. Just give me a minute.
So I don't really remember the beginning of the MLB season because I was asleep for the whole thing.
Right, your poor wife is just like, hi, do you remember me? I'm over here. Cool, thanks, I appreciate that. Yeah. That's so funny. I'm sure she loved that like week in between where you're like, babe, I'm tired. I gotta do the work, and then I gotta wake up at 4 a.m. and watch other games. Just I'll talk to you in April.
yeah, I'll see you in a month. No, honestly, like that was one of the coolest things. So now we're just gonna talk about life for a second. But one of the coolest things about like I'm very relatively new to marriage. Only married 3 years. Very new, young in my marriage. But like getting to do all of the WBC stuff. I was gone for a couple of weeks, and Dubai gone for a week. Like seeing how supportive she was of me was the coolest thing, and like honestly just grew us even closer. So really thankful for her.
Love that. That's so sweet. See, this is the type of coverage that you guys are getting from me. Okay, like this is the really hard hitting stuff that I know all of you wanted to know. So, so what are the plans for the future, Shawn? I know that WPC we say is so far away, but really it's gonna go pretty fast, pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
So what's the plan leading up to, I guess, the next WBC? Like, I fully expect you to be at all of the pools, at all of the games, Shawn. So just know.
We'll see. We'll see if we can go any more than I already did in 2023. That would be quite the feat. But yeah, so I got short-term and long-term goals. Short-term, the plan is just to continue like WBC coverage. Like you said, it seems far away, but it's really not. Like we're in 2024. The WBC is in 2026, but qualifiers are already in 2025. And I don't know if you saw me tweet this out like yesterday, but they're already talking about who's going to be hosting the WBC in 2026. And because you reacted like that, I doubt that you saw this. Houston has officially submitted their bid to host the WBC in 2026. So stuff like that is already coming out. Like there's already news coming out that like new cities are wanting to host, and like it might be like that news might be released before the season. So it doesn't matter what year it is in the off years, there is always WBC news. So my plan is to like continue covering every aspect of the WBC as much as possible to keep that conversation going. That's for the WBC. I also can plan to continue following baseball from what I like to say from an international lens, as much as I can. Like there's baseball all around the world. People love to see, myself included, people love to see the international aspect of that, where the players are from, like their cultures, how growing up in Taiwan and playing baseball there is different, and you develop differently than playing growing up in Venezuela.
Right.
People love hearing those kind of stories of the young players coming out from all of these different countries. So there's always stories. I'll be trying to make more graphics, do more podcasts, right? Honestly, just a little bit of everything. That's the short term. Long term, I do plan, I would love to do this full time. Whether it's media or not, I want to work in international baseball, which is hard because that's not really a market yet. It's so niche and so new that there's not really jobs in international baseball. It's more just you can work for Major League Baseball, or you can work for a team or a media company. So I'm trying to figure out what that looks like right now. I have my degree in sports management, and I have this experience from 2023. So I want to capitalize on that and, I don't know, make my own job or work for some media company. I don't know what that looks like yet, but that's definitely the long-term goal, or at least the mid-term goal. In the next couple of years, I want that to be reality, hopefully. I'm praying for that. So,
well, that's awesome. So we're gonna revisit your goal here in just a minute, but before I forget, my ADHD squirrel brain over here, what other cities are up for hosting the WBC? Besides Houston, obviously, putting their ring in the hat in the ring.
Ring in the hat. I love it.
That's the new saying that all the cool kids are saying it now. But what other cities are there that have put their name in the bucket? Hi.
Yeah. So no, you're good. Well, so with all of with how much I love the WBC, my one sort of, I guess, qualm, or what I would improve or change is I still feel there could be more transparency with the lead up, the process of how the WBC is planned, because there's not really any information that's public until someone leaks or someone says something. So for example, I was reading an article from the Houston Chronicle, and in there, one of the city planners that is helping to campaign for they're bringing the WBC to Houston was the one that announced that the WBC venues would be maybe announced before the 24-24 season. And in that article, it also mentioned that Houston officially submitted their bid for the 2026 to host. So it's stuff like that I kind of have to dig through and continue searching and asking people, reaching out to people for information on that. But it's stuff that we want to know. I want to know what all the different cities that are planning to host or want to host, who they are, and who's who might be where I'm going to be going in 2026, hopefully, God willing. So, and I think that could be great content for fans as well. But all that being said, there's only 2 cities that have been leaked that want to host. Of course, Miami's going to want to host. That's no question. I'm sure LA has submitted. I'm sure Mexico City or Monterrey. Obviously, Tokyo is going to submit another bid. But the only 2 that I've heard of are Houston and San Diego. So, and again, kind of leaked information with the San Diego one. Someone posted a picture on Twitter or on Instagram, one of the 2, of the Petco Park sign saying "Welcome WBC 2026." So that's kind of how fans found out about it. Is oh, the Padres, the San Diego wants to host the WBC in 2026. No one had any idea. They had to literally put it on the scoreboard for fans outside the stadium walking around to see. So those are the only 2 cities that I've heard of.
That's crazy. So, if the WBC themselves don't hire you, Shawn, it is a travesty. We need a change.org, some sort of petition to get you hired by WBC, because literally,
please.
The ramp up to the WBC, if you weren't doing it, I guarantee you the majority of Twitter would not have been interested. The stuff that you posted back then, the stuff that you post now, like they're missing out on a huge marketing opportunity, essentially, especially for 25. Yeah,
26.
26. I was like, wait, why does that sound so much
25 is
closer?
qualifiers.
Okay, but I mean, they're missing out on a huge marketing deficit right now. Like you could be doing all of this fun information that people would want to know. Like, hey guys, did you know that Phoenix, Arizona has put in their name? Like,
Yeah.
and just keeping the WBC in, not maybe in the forefront of people's minds, but just there talking about it so that next time, like when it does come up, like 25, like we ramp that up just a little bit more. Like these are the countries and the qualifiers. Like, what are we doing here? Who's on the WBC like planning committee that we can that we need to petition? Like where are their at, Shawn? We need to figure this out. Like
I mean, that's a dream job right there. If I can do what I'm doing now, covering the WBC, but to work for them and do it officially, I would be happy to. I would even just take over if I could just take over the World Baseball Classic like social media accounts and just post like every day multiple things and just like cover the off season for them. That's even right there, dream job, because they don't really post anything in the years off of the WBC. So yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. I mean, you are right, and that's I think one of the biggest things that why I wanted to start doing what I do is because there's such big potential for WBC ramp up in the years that like before the WBC, right, which is why I started like last summer, 2 summers ago. I'm getting all mixed up with the 2024 thing, but summer 2022 when they announced that it was happening. That's when I started making my graphics and started talking about the potential rosters, the teams that are going to be playing, like who's going to be on those teams, the provisional rosters, things like that. So that from summer 2022 up to March, there was like anticipation, there was lead up. We knew what to expect, and like everybody was excited to see what those rosters were going to look like because no one was really talking about that yet. So I only had from summer 2022 to March 2023 last time. Now we're literally starting now.
Right.
Like I've been talking about it since 2023 until 2026. So there's going to be even more potential for like a build up, a ramp up, like a slow beat increasing for fans to be excited for it. Like people are already excited for the WBC and we're years away. So yeah, whether it's Jim Small, the president of the WBC, or the WBSC Federation, like I went on their website. They don't have any job listings, but if they do, I'm going to apply.
Well, so like I said, we'll start the change.org petition. Get Shawn hired. That'll be the hashtag that we start, Shawn. Get Shawn hired. Hashtag get Shawn hired.
Every time that I come on here, you have like a mission for me. The first time was to get the WBC guy to be my nickname, and now you want to get me a job. So I'm gonna have to come on here more. Your life-changing stuff happens on this podcast.
I wouldn't hate that, Shawn. I would not hate that. Like, I had the guy from that runs the KBO Twitter. The what is it? KBO.
My KBO?
Yes.
Dan?
Is it Dan? No.
Dan.
No. Nope. That's like the official one. No. This is Odelfer. I can't remember.
Oh, yes, yeah. He's super cool. Yeah, he has like the KBO and English account.
Yes.
He's kind of popping off right now too. Like he started like kind of like I did, just started out of nowhere. Saw that there was like a market that no one was covering, KBO in English, and so he's doing great.
Yeah, I had him on the show a couple of weeks ago, and hysterically, for some reason, I thought it was gonna be a Korean guy, and he popped up, and he was a white guy, and I was all, you are not what I was expecting. Nope, not at all.
That's hilarious.
And so he's like,
yeah, he just loves the KBO.
Yeah,
just a super fan. He's awesome.
He was super awesome to have on. And that reminds me, he DM'd me a while back, and I forgot to DM him back. And I have to do that. So, but yeah, after I had him on the show, it somehow got picked up on the South Korean charts. I had been like charting on the South Korean charts and then the Japanese charts. I'm all, I don't know where y'all came from.
I love it. That's great.
Like, thank you. I was like, sweet, love that. So, but yeah, all of the international baseball, like, come on with it. Like, you know, like that's why I named the show Bourbon and Baseball, so that we could talk about like all of the baseball, not just the Astros, even though, you know, we do love the Astros.
It's also fun to talk about.
Yeah. So, but yeah,
I think that real quick, I think I love that you want to talk about like international baseball, just all of baseball, because like my personal opinion is that the future and the present, but the future of baseball is international. I think that the globalization of sport is like happening in every sport, and baseball is following that track in a massive way. Like, I think that like 10, 20 years from now, it's going to be far more international than it even is now. And being on the forefront of that, like before there's more, like there's going to be more leagues popping up all around the world. I think that Europe is going to get on board with baseball. I think that like the WBC is going to become like one of the biggest global international sports tournaments in the world. It's never going to be like, obviously, like the FIFA World Cup, but it'll be one of the biggest World Cups, I think. So being on the forefront of that is super exciting, super fun. So yes, have international accounts on as well. I promote that.
But hey, by all, send them my way. Like I will just,
I can do that.
I will just be like riding your coattails and being like, Shawn, like, help me get more people on talking about international baseball. I would love that. Mainly because it's so, I mean, the whole reason I kind of wanted that I started this podcast. Oh, dang, like almost a year and a half ago. Ooh, totally missed my 1 year anniversary, but whoops.
Congrats.
Thank you. But the whole reason I started the podcast was to have someone, not an old white guy, and that's not a dig at old white guys, but you know, there's lots of people out there that are not represented in the sport, like me included. And so, you know, like a female voice in baseball is kind of what I wanted. And I was like, there's not many out here. And so let's do that. And I think the more that those types of people, you know, talking about all of the types of baseball out there, it's got to be great, right? Like all of those different voices talking about the sport that we all love. I mean, everyone's like, oh my gosh, you know, like the curmudgeons out there that weren't a fan of WBC. I'm like, how can you not love the WBC? Like, you cannot sit there and tell me that you did not get hyped for the WBC. And if you didn't get hyped for the WBC, are you alive? Like, do you have a heartbeat? Or do you have a pulse? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's funny because I used to get really fiery. I would never like send anything out like on. I don't like to be mean on social media. Just as a general rule, don't be mean is kind of my my go-to. I don't want to say anything that I'm going to regret. But like, I mean, honestly, like as the WBC went on and afterwards, there's still plenty of people that don't like the WBC or don't want to have to deal with their players getting hurt. And like, it obviously makes sense. Like, no one wants to see Altuve get hurt. No one wants to see Edwin Diaz get hurt in the WBC and not be able to play for the whole season. That sucks. Like that there's no way around that. But at the same time, like it's not going anywhere. So there's not really any point to fight those who are fighting it. Like I just kind of move on and don't worry about it because there's so many more people that do love the WBC all around the world now. And it's going to grow even more like exponentially in the next time that we have it in 2026 and then 2029. So yeah, I think that those people that don't like it, they're going to grow into it eventually. It's just too fun not to.
So I'm so excited for it. Like I'm still excited to watch even like the highlights of the things.
Yeah,
you know, like when they like just randomly like pop up, I'm like, oh, I remember how I felt, you know, like and you know, my girls are almost 9 right now, but when the WBC was happening, they would, you know, like filter in and out of the room, but they're like, wait, countries can play baseball? Like, wait, I thought he was on, you know, and they would like see the other random players and they're like, why isn't he in an Astros uniform? I'm like, well, this is the WBC. And they're like, oh, that's so cool. And
See, that's the
so,
coolest thing ever. Like, no one knows that this is how baseball can be also. Like, this is so normal and natural for so many other sports. Like, soccer's been doing this for 100 years. Like, it's so natural for them to play for their countries, and it's like
right.
expected that the best players are going to play for their countries. Or like cricket. I just found this out about this recently because I've never followed cricket in the past.
Right.
But they never even had club play for years and years and years and years until recently. They only played for the country. So it was of the entire country, all, I don't know, billion people that are in India, hundreds of millions of people that are in India, 13 players got to play for the Indian team. That was it. Everyone else, like, you only tried to play for the national team. So like,
oh wow,
so many sports are like, their everything is playing for their country. They're playing for their national teams. Baseball's not had that in the past. We've had the Olympics, but it's not been the same because the professional, like, MLB players have not been allowed to play.
Right.
But now that we have the WBC, like, that is a thing. And you talk to any of the players in the WBC that got to play, they said it's the coolest thing they've ever experienced, the coolest atmosphere, the best atmosphere they've ever had. And like, so many of them said that they would rather win the WBC than the World Series because they're playing for their country and it's like their pride and their family that they're playing for rather than like a paycheck.
Right.
So it just means something completely different. Both are great, and I think they supplement each other so well.
For sure. Well, and it not to get political or anything like that, but it was almost to the point where people, I guess, I mean, especially like Americans, like the United States is such a big melting pot of all of the different cultures and all of the different nationalities and whatnot, that like the United States in and of itself doesn't have like the one like identity, I guess, like when you're when you play for Korea, like, okay, Japan, like that is your country, like same with, like Venezuela and Dominican, like all of those countries have so much country pride. And at no point in time, if you are proud of your country, is someone going to look at you and be like, oh my God, you're so racist. But then like if you're like proud to be of America, and they're like, are you sure about that? Like, and so it was so interesting to see the I guess the difference in pride. I don't want to say pride, but like the level of
pride. That makes sense.
Yeah, like the level of, I guess, love of country that like that various players had. And you could just tell that, like, even though, some people were, had parents of different nationalities or, whatnot, like they were still proud to like wear that uniform. And it was so funny to like watch like Lars Newmark play for Japan, and like Tommy Edman play for Korea.
Tommy Edman, yeah.
And so I was like, yes, like, and people were like, Suzy, are you going for Team USA or Team Korea? I'm like, I can go for both. I can go for everybody, okay? Because I just love baseball. Just leave it alone. like I don't know why I got to pick, but it you could tell the love of country, like that the players had for their home countries, that meant so much more to them. That this entire experience like meant so much more to them than playing for, the MLB, like, which like we hold as quote unquote better. But, like to play for your country, that's like the highest honor.
Yeah.
So I just got like goosebumps every single time I would see the players come on the field for, like when they did their anthem and things like that. I'm like, oh my God, I love it so much. I don't even know what they're saying in the words, but it's like you could just tell it was so cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, I got emotional so many times watching them do like their anthems, and like seeing the players represent their countries, like, and how passionate they were and how proud they were to represent their flag, like on their sleeve and the name of their country on their chest. Like it just felt so different. And I think that like, obviously, like so many people in the US have like a different take on what it would mean to represent your country, or like they would, like, some people would be proud of that, some people not so much. I think that for the people, like, so for example, like I got to talk to Mookie Betts and asked him what it meant to him to play in the WBC and represent Team USA. For him, He said it meant representing his family. It said it meant representing like his family members who were in the military and like what they sacrificed for him and for the country. And like he wanted to, like he's not in the military and he can't do that, but he can represent the country in the same way that they did, to hopefully honor them. And so it was just cool to hear those kind of stories. Everybody had a different reason why they were playing or what they were proud of. Their part of representing the country, representing Team USA. But like, if you look at, like, I think Cuba was really interesting to me to see
Yeah.
all the dialogue leading up to the tournament, because like with a country that a lot of people would say is very oppressive, that a lot of the players do not want to play for that team.
Yeah.
It's not that they hate Cuba or that they don't love their family or don't love their country. A lot of those players don't want to represent the government or represent what that oppression has meant to them. And so a lot of players decided not to play. Other players decided, I hate all of that. I did defect to come to the US, and yet I still want to show my love for my country, for my family that's still there, that's going through all these hard times. I want to like encourage them and motivate them and give them something to root for in that hardship. So like, I think it was really cool to see that dichotomy and how people expressed their love for their country in so many different ways, even in the US, where everything's very divisive.
That feels just, like a country trait for now. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, even like Randy Rosareno's whole story about
cool.
becoming, like going and asking the Mexican president if he would grant him citizenship and like play. And I was like, I love that so much. Like,
Oh yeah, such a cool story.
And it just like various like stories like that coming out just gave me chills, like Lars Newbar playing for Team Japan that had never, really spoke Japanese, but is now like it's my country. It's like it's my people,
Yeah.
And it was just, I just loved all of that so much. Don't mind me over here having issues with my headphones. But so if fingers crossed, Houston does get that bid. I fully expect to see you for dinner at some point in time, Shawn. I will buy you a drink and treat you to dinner and be like, yes, let's talk about your experience. I would love that. But
I love it. That'd be great. And I'll be there. If it's in Houston, I have to be there. I mean, I've lived in Texas my whole life. Like I got it. I'm in Dallas. It's a quick drive down to Houston. I'm there for sure.
So, Shawn, tell the people where they can find you and find all of the coverage and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, it's a little different than last time we talked. Last time I didn't even have a podcast or a YouTube channel or anything like that. So on Twitter, it's Shawn_Spradling. You have it on your nice little frame here, which is, I don't even have to spell it out, which is great. On Instagram, it's also Shawn_Spradling. Instagram's newer. I didn't even have an Instagram a year ago, like for baseball. Now I do. I was like, what the heck? I'm going to Dubai. I need to post this stuff on Instagram. People want to see what's going on. So I only have a couple hundred followers there, but we're growing. So follow us there. I say us, like you said, I got a little mini me in my pocket, I guess.
Yeah.
It's just me. I'm not working with anyone else yet at WBC. Please hire me. My TikTok is at Shawn Spradling. I have a podcast. It's called WBC Central. It's on the Baseball Isn't Boring podcast network. You can find it like on their like stream on any podcast platform. So yeah, I post content. I talk about baseball through an international lens. So if you have any interest in baseball deeper than just the everyday stats, if you want to know where players are from, their cultures, what's going on in the Nicaraguan League or the Dominican Winter League, or anywhere in East Asia, like any international baseball, I'm trying to cover it. So that's me.
And I will post all of Shawn's social media links and links to his podcast in the show notes. So you can look for that there. Is there anything else that you want to let the people know Shawn. I mean, besides hashtag get Shawn a job. WBC hire Shawn. That's well, I'll have to figure out the official hashtag as well, and we'll put that in the show notes too. And
I love
then
it.
that's what we'll just tweet out all of the time.
It's amazing. I love it. Well, and then once I do get a job, then we can credit your hashtag for being the reason.
You know, I would love that. I would love that. I don't know if the WBC guy ever took off, but I'm gonna say that was on me too. So you know, just.
I love it.
But Shawn, I I appreciate you so much coming on, and we're gonna have to do this more than once a year. I feel like maybe every couple of months or something, and just like check in. That would be be great. So, totally. I know we had tried to set up stuff a long time ago, and I was like, and then I got sick, and then you were out of town, and it was just
it was a whole thing.
So,
but we made it work finally.
Finally, yes. So again, Shawn, I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time, and I'm sure your wife is like, can I spend some time with you? So I will let you go, and I so appreciate you again taking the time out and talking about international baseball and WBC coverage and all of that fun stuff. And again, I will put all of those links to Shawn in the show notes that will be out later. And I think that's it. So with that, I will say goodnight. But first, I think I need all of you to give us a 5-star review, 5-star rating. Give us a review. I would love that. Follow us on the YouTubes. That would be great. There's a red button over there that you can just, click on it and hit subscribe. Tell all your friends. We would all love that as well. And I think with that, we will say goodnight. I have found my mouse. And we will say goodnight. I'm going to end the stream now. Yay, baseball!
Woohoo! Yay, baseball!